Ford has been a household name for decades, but what happens when an automotive giant stumbles in the fast-paced world of electrification? Could pricing blunders, overflowing lots, and quality control woes signal deeper trouble for the Blue Oval? The switch to electric vehicles is shaking up the auto business and changing the way that consumers buy cars. Ford, a legendary giant in the car industry, is facing a number of problems that have sent shockwaves through the industry during this time of change. Ford is in a tough spot right now, with problems with its electric vehicle plans, quality control, falling demand, and too much production. A tough third quarter. Ford's financial numbers for the third quarter show that it is in a very bad spot in the market right now. The business said it had lost a lot of money, and its stock price dropped a lot, which made investors lose faith. An inventory problem that keeps getting worse is at the heart of these problems. All over the country, dealer lots are full of cars that haven't been sold. These include both standard cars with combustion engines, like the Bronco, and electric cars, like the Mustang Mach-E. This oversupply shows that the market demand wasn't correctly estimated and causes problems with logistics and money. Vehicles are now being parked in places that aren't meant for inventory, which is a major sign of overproduction. Such mistakes are scary for a big company like Ford because they show a serious problem with market research and production planning. Bad pricing and high interest rates. Ford is having a hard time because of how it sets its prices. Models like the Bronco, which used to be in high demand, are now just sitting there on store lots. People have said that the Bronco Raptor's price, which often goes over six figures, is way too high. A big part of the market doesn't like these prices, especially since inflation and high interest rates are making the economy worse right now. The problem is getting worse because the cost of borrowing money is going up, which makes car loans less reasonable for most people. Because of these factors, Ford is dealing with stock that hasn't been sold and less interest from customers, especially in its more expensive products. The EV sector, growth despite rising losses. Ford's electric vehicle section, called Model E, is a good example of the company's bigger problems. Even though EV sales have grown a lot 45% year over year, this growth has cost too much to keep up. Ford's electric vehicle business is expected to lose a huge $5 billion by the end of the year. This shows how hard it is to make EV production profitable on a large scale. Ford's most popular electric truck, the F-150 Lightning, is a great example of how production and demand are not matching up. Even though there was a lot of interest at first, the vehicle has had trouble living up to predictions. Because of this, sellers are being paid to keep the car in stock, which is a strange and desperate move for a company the size of Ford. In some cases, Ford is paying dealers up to $1,500 per Lightning unit. These payments are made retroactively to encourage dealers to place large orders. This approach might help get rid of stock quickly, but it also shows the bigger problem. Supply isn't meeting demand. The backbone in trouble. Problems with making the F-150. The F-150 has been Ford's flagship model for a long time, bringing in a lot of money and showing that the company is the leader in the truck market. Ford has been criticized for years for having problems that keep happening across all of its models, which is why the company is now putting more emphasis on quality. Even though the company has added more inspections to try to cut down on recalls, these efforts have not yet led to real changes. For example, Ford recently put 60,000 F-150s in storage for more checks, which kept 12 recalls from happening. This move shows that they care about quality, but it also shows how big the problem is. Problems and layoffs in the European market. Ford faces problems in more than just North America. When it comes to Europe, the company is having a hard time making changes because of strict emission rules and changing buyer tastes. It has been hard to meet the European market's lofty EV goals, which has led to cuts and reorganizations. Ford just recently said it was going to cut 1,600 jobs in Spain, which shows how bad its problems are there. This reorganization shows that Ford is having a hard time adapting to new market conditions as a whole. In Europe, Ford is having a hard time finding the right mix between growth and profit. The EV transition is like a double-edged sword. The fact that Ford wants to switch to electric vehicles is both a big step toward the future and a big financial load. To become less dependent on Chinese sources, the company has put a lot of money into making batteries in the United States. Nevertheless, these investments, along with the high costs of making EVs, have put a huge strain on Ford's funds. Ford is still losing money on every EV it sells, even though it is giving huge discounts to get people to buy them. This change makes me wonder if the company's current method to electrification will work in the long run. Ford is having a hard time making the switch to electric vehicles because it is taking too long to release new models, like a planned 3-row electric SUV. Effects on finances. Ford's problems are having huge effects on his finances. The company now expects overall earnings to be less than $10 billion, which is less than what they thought they would be at first. Investors are scared off by this gap, which is why Ford's stock price dropped 9%. In the third quarter, only the EV section lost $1.2 billion. The combustion and commercial sectors, on the other hand, made $26 billion and $15.7 billion, respectively, which was some good news. But these wins aren't enough to make up for the losses in the EV market, which shows how unstable Ford's finances are. The way ahead. Ford's problems right now are a good example of the bigger problems that traditional automakers are having as they try to make the switch to electric vehicles. For Ford, the stakes are especially high because it depends on classic models, like the F-150, to keep making money. Ford will need to be able to fix problems with quality control, make sure output matches demand, and improve its electric vehicle, EV, options in order to move forward. The company also has to deal with rising costs and unclear global markets, especially in Europe, where it has a lot of problems restructuring. Ford's long-term dedication to electric vehicles is admirable. The next few years will show whether Ford can step up to the challenge or give up in the face of fast-changing market pressures. Enjoyed this deep dive? Don't miss out on more insights like this. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest in the automotive world, because you deserve to know what's driving the future.